Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. I hope everybody is well. Hope you had a lovely weekend. And I hope everybody's looking forward to a bit of chat tonight. So who's in the chat? Let's have a look and we'll have a check in there. Also, what are you all up to tonight? Are you doing a bit of hobby? Are you just sitting chilling out? Have you been playing many games over the weekend? Let me know everything that you've been up to and we'll say hello to a few folks. Now, I'm sure Peter Nicholas was in earlier on about 4 o'clock. I think I saw your message, mate. Nice to see you in nice and early there. Steve Evans is in. Hello, Steve. How are you doing? William Jones is in. Hello there, William. Also, thank you very much for joining the Patreon this week as well. Very much appreciated, buddy. We also have Federico is in as well. Good evening, Federico. Al Krabby said he's lurking tonight, but cheers in advance for the company. What are you up to, Al? What are you painting tonight then, mate? Christian's in as well. Good evening, sir. How are you doing? Showing off one of the new BlackJack Legacy t-shirts this week as well. Nice to see you picking one of those up. Hello officially to Peter as well. We've got Angry Grot in as well. I'm pretty sure Angry Grot is Clive. Let me know for sure, mate, if that's you. I'm pretty sure there's not 2 Angry Grots. So yeah, nice to see you, mate, anyway. We got Mark Berracloth in as well. He's saying, hi all, welcome to the end of Moody Blues Monday. Have you had a bit of a bad day, mate, have you? Mine's been average, I think. It's getting better now, though. Now we're on here. We've got Al Cluley's in as well. Good evening, Al. Richard Smith's in. Christopher Warden's in. Good evening to you, gentlemen. We've got Kieran in. Good evening, sir. We've got James Hart in. Paul Palms in. Said he's just finished his wild hunt. I've literally just this second saw your picture on my phone, mate. It looks really, really nice, mate. You've done a cracking job of it. And yeah, you were saying anybody that's painted an army of them ones, they're quite fiddly, aren't they? There's quite a lot of detail on them. But yeah, you've done a smashing job, mate. Phil Hall says, evening all. Nice to catch you live. Thank you very much for tuning in, Phil. Very nice to have you with us. We've got another Phil as well. Phil Johnson said he's painting his Sisters of Battle from the starter box, being sensible and not buying all the new stuff the list has done. I did exactly the same thing, mate, when I bought up my Bone Reapers, and I said I wasn't going to buy anything else till I'd painted that starter set that I had. And to be fair, I stuck to that. I've painted that entire starter set, so there you go. Craig Notman's in. Hello, Craig. How are you doing? Steve's busy painting his Kings of War stuff. Remind me, Steve, what army are you painting at the minute? You put out so many armies, mate. I forget which one you're on with at the moment. We've got Rui Luis in. Good evening, Rui. I hope you're very well, buddy. Pat's in as well. He's saying, howdy all, finishing off his Phoenix Lord for the challenge. Yeah, I put a little kind of reminder in the group there tonight as well. We're getting up towards the kind of the first 250 point hurdle now, or the first 250 point milestone, or what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, like a milestone. I think that's the word I'm looking for. So yeah, just a little bit of a nudge, see how people are getting on. It gets a little bit quiet at this point. There's a bit of a lull where there's the hype of a new month comes in, or the hype of a new challenge, and then it kind of hits a bit of a lull, and then we just got to kind of ramp it up towards that milestone mark. So yeah, we'll keep the pressure on now. Good evening, Pat, anyway. Good evening, Deep Red as well. It says, hail and well met, and the Legacyers. I like that name, Legacyers. Red Rose Wargaming is in. Evening, Anna. Painting a bit of Cypher Lords, I think it is on your table tonight. We've got Richard Smith saying he's discovered oil pin washing today. Yes, mate. When you... I think I discovered something similar where if you gloss the model first and then do a pin wash, it really does run into the recesses and then sort of hit it down with a matte coat afterwards. It makes a huge difference. Tony's in as well. Good evening, Tony. How are you doing, sir? Al said he took a 30-year break from Warhammer, so his return was highly motivated by nostalgia. That's a great point. Let me just put my little cursor there so I know where we're up to. That is a great point, Al, and a good point to talk about tonight's subject. So, tonight's topic is nostalgia versus growth, and it was inspired by a video I watched from a friend of mine, Douglas, who's got a channel called Reluctant Arty. Please do check it out, especially if you're into RPG, Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. And his video kind of sparked the idea. His was more weighted towards RPG stuff, but from a tabletop gaming perspective, and it might be board games, it might be miniatures games, but does nostalgia drive your gaming? But does creating games based upon nostalgia, does that stifle growth of the hobby to the wider audience? So for example, let me just use Judge Dredd as an example. It's a new game that's just come out by Warlord Games. It's playing very heavily on nostalgia of people around my age who used to read those Judge Dredd and the 2000 AD comics. However, if you've got sort of kids, 10, 11, 12, 13. Maybe you've got kids in their early teenage years, or the in their late teens, early 20s. Maybe Judge Dredd means pretty much nothing to them. They might remember the kind of film from not too long ago, but they're not engaged in it the way we are. Is that basically stifling the growth of the hobby to a wider audience and a wider community at the expense of trying to kind of pull on the heartstrings of gamers like me? And there's many, many games we can talk about as well when it comes to things like Blood Bowl coming back, things like Necromunda coming back. So those are a couple of examples. So let me know how nostalgia kind of plays upon your gaming. Do you buy stuff because you kind of remember these? Oh, I want to paint Doctor Who stuff because I remember watching the old Tom Baker stuff when I was a kid. Do you pick up things like Judge Dredd? Is that like on your agenda, or are you relatively new to gaming and all of that kind of old fashioned stuff really doesn't do it for you, and you'd much prefer the company's focused on new IPs, looking ahead, sort of more innovative mechanics rather than looking at kind of old-fashioned stuff, if you like. Is it lazy manufacturing to go into something that's like an old game, if you like? Anyway, let's see where we're up to. We'll come back to that one. Chris, of course, he jumps off the screen as soon as I still look at. Christopher Warden said he's listening while working. I hope you're not working too hard, buddy. Adam Edgar's in as well. Hello, future boy. Says he's home with a little one ill. He's going to be doing a bit more on his mate Necrons while he works from home and sorts out the little bloke. Nicely done, mate. I saw your picture earlier on today as well in the Patreon what's it called? Discord group, I should say, not Discord. Yeah, I hope your little one gets well soon, mate. Busey's in as well. He's attempting to paint fur. You should just paint models instead, mate. Painting fur must be a nightmare. All them little furry bits. We've got Joss in as well. Says good evening, everybody. Good evening to you, Joss. Al's painting the detail on his repulsor tank, and 13 dudes all the fiddly bits to do. Yeah, don't envy you there, mate. Even Kirill as well says interesting topic today. Yeah, there's a few different sides to it, mate. So I think we'll get into that quite soon. Just as the chat's filling up here as well. Steve saying he's doing elves, halflings, orcs, and abyssals. Yeah, I'm not surprised, mate. Good morning, VJ. Hope you're well, fella. Andy Smith says, "Howie, boy." boy, Harry. Hello, fella. How are you doing? Robert Marshall's in. Evening, Robert. Joss is finishing off his Frost Giant for Blood Rage and all the skin to paint. Al used to have a squat biker gang. Yeah, they're definitely before my time, mate. Good evening to Jip in as well. Hello, how are you doing? See you quite a lot on Twitter, mate, but I don't think I've seen you very much in the chat, so welcome to the chat tonight. Robert Farnelson's in. He says he's got a holiday in America today. Oh, it's a holiday in America today, so he can finally join the chat again. Nice to have you in, mate. Nice to see Ronnie Dodd in as well. 12 Neefs in as well, saying, sorry, I'll miss you at a Adepticon this year. Yeah, I can't believe I'm going myself, mate. I was going to mention it on the last live stream, but we got sidetracked. We had plenty to talk about, and I kind of didn't talk about it. So if the topic runs dry, I'll mention Adepticon later on. We've got Kieran in as well. Good evening, Kieran. Yeah, Mark says the third Monday of January was awarded as the gloomy title. I forgot about that, mate. Yeah, I saw that on a news report thing today. It's been a bad day, but not because it's the 3rd January. Deep Red's listening along while slapping some paint on Stark Infantry for Kingdoms of Men for the slow grow. Nice one. Thomas is in as well. Good evening, Thomas. Where are we at? That's just jumping around again. Robertson, Judge Dredd on PS1. Amazing game. I don't think I remember the PS1 game, mate, and I was pretty much into my PS1 as well. Thomas Moo is in. Where are we at? Red Rose Tom, nice to see you, Tom. How are you? Pete saying he's anything to paint this year, but he's assembled some plastic. That's a good start, mate. It's getting them built. Thomas says the new Dread was even then pointed towards adults. It was, mate, to be fair. It was a much more kind of mature audience one, wasn't it? Simon York's in, saying Warhammer the Old World. Maybe that one doesn't quite count due to the success of Total War. I still think it's kind of nostalgia, mate, isn't it? It's still the fact that it's leaning on an old IP. Is that just lazy, or is there really kind of is there really that kind of people still screaming out for it now, even after all these years? Is it just stirring the pot again, if you like? Would you have been better off sort of looking at a different IP completely. I'm just spitballing, mate. I haven't really got an opinion on it. I never played fantasy, so it's lost on me a little bit. There is no nostalgia. I didn't get into gaming really until or seriously until I was much older. So things like Mordheim, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, like those kind of things, I don't have any kind of nostalgic feels about them because I was never into them. So that's why I'm kind of interested in what people feel. The other side of nostalgia thing is just pulling in those old IPs, even things like Fallout for the Fallout game, pulling in that's not the most sort of up to date of things, is it? They're kind of relying upon older kind of gaming systems, if you like. I'm trying to think of some other examples, really. But there's a lot of companies will lean on old IPs. There's a board game company called Restoration Games, whose whole kind of business sort of purpose is to take old games that were kind of classics and kind of reimagine them for a modern audience, if you like. And I remember I was listening to a podcast recently where they were talking about it, and it's almost, they don't want to kind of just replicate the old game. They want to make you feel how, when you play the game now, they want you to feel like you did when you played it. Even though if you played that old game again now, you'd probably think, oh, it's a bit dated and it's a bit clunky and it doesn't work very well. They're trying to recapture that feel without just kind of cut and pasting old mechanics, if you like. So there's definitely a feel of going back and delving into old archives to kind of almost as a bit of an easy sell, for want of a better word. But does that really hurt long-term growth? Let's have a look. Where are we at now? 12 Neef says, nostalgia is fine as long as the game is accessible. Yeah, I wonder whether nostalgia puts people off, though. Like, do some people who don't have that nostalgic pull almost think, oh, it's just like some old-fashioned game, I'm not interested? I do wonder whether that's the case. Phil Johnson saying, nostalgia can be done. Newer 40k armies, Harlequins, Mechanicum, Genesteiner cults, Imperial Knights, and now Sisters were old 40k lore. But you don't need to know the history to enjoy. Excuse me. I do wonder whether, though, like that's kind of bringing back races and armies from within an established kind of gaming system. Bringing back Necromunda. Bringing back, what do you call it? Imperialis. What was it called? Aeronautica Imperialis. Bringing back Blood Bowl. Bringing back Necromunda. Bringing back Adeptus Titanicus. Just kind of delving into those old archives and just kind of bringing those games back to pull on the kind of the heartstrings of gamers around my age who maybe kind of played them in their teens and stuff, maybe early 20s. And is it just lazy? I appreciate they make money, but is it just lazy kind of to do that? Why not? They've got some really talented game designers. Why not create a new IP? Why not create something like Warcry that brings in a newer gamer and a different kind of gamer? We've got Az in as well. Good evening, Az. How are you doing, sir? It's just jumping off the top of my screen now. It's his first time able to check in for a while. Loving the new set. Thank you, Az. You'll have to pop by sometime, mate, and come and join me for a live stream sometime. Be good to catch you on stream. Where are we up to now? Simon saying, rendering beeswax while I listen. There's something I don't hear very often, mate. Phil said he's been out the hobby for 20 years. He got fed up with trying to keep up with the new stuff, winning game stuff. Yeah, keep winning game stuff. So I left and came back with Warcraft. But as like you, only need to do a few figures. Yeah, you're right, mate. I think it's I think that's probably a topic for another live stream. Really, that kind of feeling of chasing the meta and trying to keep up with the latest stuff. There was a comment about a tournament, an AOS tournament that was on at the weekend where somebody felt like kind of it's the same armies, it's the new books, it's the Bone Reapers, it's the Tzeentch stuff, walking away with kind of the tournaments now. It's really hard even just to finish mid-table because of basically there's some, in their words, these broken lists now. So I think it could almost be a live stream on its own, that one, I think. We've got Paul Jablonski, or Jablonski, I should say, says his club plays Warhammer 2nd Edition. Love nostalgia. Interesting, mate. You don't hear a lot of them old 2nd Edition these days. Alan's in as well. Alan Gunner's saying, even all looking forward to being able to watch a live stream. And he's painting some Walking Dead stuff. Nice one, fella. VJ says, nostalgia got it back, but seeing the hobby advance, I'm not one of those people that whine that the hobby should stay static to satisfy ease nostalgia. Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. I know what you mean. You do have to kind of move with the times, don't you? It's like anything. It's if you think about it from a kind of a video gaming perspective. Like I was a video gamer when I was young. I didn't really play a lot of tabletop stuff, and whilst I have fond memories of some of those older games, if you play them now, it's almost like rose-tinted glasses. You're looking back on those games with those kind of rose-tinted glasses. However, things have moved on a long way now. You can't compare something like The Last of Us compared to something like Jet Set Willy. As much as you might have loved Jet Set Willy back in the day on an old Spectrum or something, like it's got fond memories, but it's not, things have moved on a lot. And I think tabletop does exactly the same. People come up with new mechanics, production values are better. The stuff that you can bring to market now that you couldn't bring to market sort of 20, 30 years ago. The fact that basically there's a bigger pool of games developers now. The fact that Kickstarter has allowed a lot of people to start up and create companies. I think things have moved on a bit. So just bringing back stuff, almost a copy and paste, bringing stuff back from years and years ago, doesn't always work. I think Games Workshop get away with it because there's a lot of nostalgia around Games Workshop itself. I think Games Workshop get away with it because they're miniatures. They'll update the miniature quality. So maybe they'll have, like Blood Bowl is probably a good example. There was very little difference between the original Blood Bowl or the last edition of Blood Bowl and the current edition of Blood Bowl. But obviously new sculpt and new miniatures obviously gives people a bit of a boost. Where are we at? Aggression says, evening all, you're going to Adepticon? I am, fella. Yes, completely out of the blue I'm going. I might try and catch up on that one later. Andy said, more Space Hulk, love it, never gets old. It wouldn't surprise me if that comes back. I mean, look at how many people have been screaming out for Mordheim to come back. Even though Warcry came out and everyone was up in arms about Warcry saying, it's not bloody Mordheim, that's what I wanted. So yeah, I think there's... The thing is, there's a new generation of gamers coming through now, and they're the future of this hobby and stuff. If we want this hobby to carry on for another 20, 30 years into the future as well, that new generation coming through have to be interested in the new stuff as well. So it's not just sort of catering to us old farts. Paul says, I get nostalgic for the old white dwarfs. The really old ones, I agree with. The ones kind of maybe 10, 15 years ago were just like catalogues, mate. The ones now are probably better than them ones were. Claire saying they find nostalgia to be disappointing in regards to gaming. I think I tend to as well, mate. That's why I thought this was quite a good topic. I tend to be a bit disappointed because I find, if we take as an example, Shadow War Armageddon, which was pretty much a copy of the old Necromunda rules, it felt to me very, very clunky, and there are too many games that have moved on with with the rules and the way things work now. I think a perfect example of it is probably something like Warcry, which was kind of written from the ground up. It didn't try to be based upon something else, and they've managed to streamline it quite a lot, which has attracted in a lot of newer players. If you kind of hark back to the older stuff sometimes, you can get yourself tied up in trying to recreate nostalgia. And I think the point I made earlier on about that Restoration Games is you remember things with those rose-tinted glasses, and they're never the same if you try and play them now. Like Hero Quest is a fantastic game from my childhood, but if I play it now, there are better dungeon crawlers now. Let's not get away from it. There are better dungeon crawlers with better mechanics. So it's kind of, you can get bogged down in nostalgia sometimes. Kieran says, I do a bit of both, new stuff like Underworlds and nostalgia stuff like Warhammer Quest, but a lot seems to be driven by memories, even if I buy some new minis. And I think we're probably of an age and of an era that basically we tend to find that unless you've stuck with it all the way through, you get back into gaming after having that kind of early 20s break, if you like, because of nostalgia. I just think that when I got back into it, when I got into gaming, really, there wasn't a lot of choice. Where now there is so much choice. Nostalgia is almost it's almost a bit dated now to just kind of cut and paste the old stuff. Yeah, Angry got there saying ideas normally far more appealing than the actual game. I wouldn't disagree there, mate, yeah. Neil says nostalgia has cost him a lot of money. I think that's what I said there before I jumped up the top of my string. Where was it gone? Where are we at? There, yeah, it cost him a lot of money. Yeah, I can imagine, mate, actually. Lee Russ is in as well, says, evening chaps, a bit late. So Lee's gone back to playing 40k as well. So there's a bit of nostalgia there for you, mate. I know you've been kind of quite heavily into board gaming. For those that don't listen to it, Average Gamers Podcast, please do check it out. Fantastic listen. Of which obviously Lee's one of the hosts. I didn't just randomly shout that out. But I know you played a bit of Infinity, a bit of Aristea. You've picked 40k up again and started getting back into that, and that's got to be driven from nostalgia and that looking back about the fun you used to have playing when you were younger, kind of thing. Christian said he's not very nostalgic. Not something really influences it. Yeah, I don't think I am, mate. I think I'm probably with you on that one, and maybe that's why I've got that slightly different opinion. I don't think I get pulled into them kind of like that old feel stuff. James is in as well. Says, greetings all. Hope everyone's doing well. Good evening, James. Neil says, how many companies have nicked GW's ideas? How many companies have nicked GW's ideas? I would like to say influenced by as opposed to stolen. But then I guess there's a lot of people who started their companies who came from Games Workshop. Games Workshop were kind of amongst the first, if you like, when it comes to that kind of more mass market stuff. So there's bound to be a little bit of influence. There's bound to be a bit of the market was only so big at certain times. And if you wanted to compete, maybe you had to make some stuff that sort of had a market already. I just think things have moved on a long way from there now, to be fair. And I think other companies these days are a lot less influenced by Games Workshop than they used to be many years ago. If you go back 10, 12, 15 years ago, I think companies were much more influenced. I think Games Workshop are influenced more by other companies now than you'd imagine. Yeah, it's quite an interesting thought, that, actually. I've just noticed something here. Where are we at? 12 Neva saying, look at Disney Plus. It's mostly relying on nostalgia. Yeah, but do you know what? A lot of what Disney do is relying upon nostalgia. However, they do still push forward the envelope a little bit. They still do come up with new IPs and stuff. But yeah, Disney Plus is just it's a streaming service for all of their old stuff. Even the Mandalorian is basically pulling on the heartstrings of Star Wars fans, isn't it? But at least they're taking it in a new direction, so that it's not cut and paste. But I do know exactly what you mean. William says he's some old nostalgia, and the back of my mind's to get Starguard rules and minis and paint them with testers and enamel. I don't think I know Starguard, mate. It must be before my time. Peter says I've got 5 years worth of old White Dwarf mags, so nostalgia is just a cardboard box away. Yeah, it'd be interesting to go back and look at some of those paint jobs. I mean, the heavy metal jobs have changed a little bit over the years. William, that's what I was thinking of before. William says, how many ideas has GW nicked? I think it's like anything. I think you are influenced by stuff that you think is very good. I mean, I do this YouTube channel. There is no shadow of a doubt I'm influenced by other channels that I've seen. They might not be gaming channels, but I've got no doubt I'm influenced by the stuff that I enjoy. I'm sure any games designers that are coming through now are influenced by games designers that have gone before them. In the same way, music artists, film stars, like actors and stuff. I think everybody's influenced by something. There's a very fine line between being influenced by things and just plainly ripping them off, isn't it? So yeah, it's where that line is, I think. Artie's in. Good evening, mate. How are you doing? Thank you very much for the topic tonight. Kieran says, even Dungeon Saga, a modern game which I play a lot. The orange of me getting into it was based off to emulate Hero Quest. Yeah, I agree, mate. And I think there's a lot of things that there's a lot of things that Dungeon Saga does better than Hero Quest because it has the hindsight of years of sort of evolved mechanics, if you like. Thomas says, I mean, nostalgia always sells. There's a lot of games that would never get picked up without the name, like Star Wars, Trek, Fallout. They do, but they're not a surefire hit. So if you look at things like, look at Star Wars as a perfect example. Star Wars is a huge franchise. Disney did not spend all of that money for no reason. And I have to apologise if you can hear any banging in the background. My washing machine's going nuts because I've got to wash some stuff for my son for nursery in the morning. So I apologise if you can hear that as well. Yeah, like they spent a lot of money on Star Wars. However, when it comes to the games now, if you think about Star Wars Legion, didn't really get the best of kind of start. It's picking up a bit now, but it didn't get the best of starts. Star Wars Destiny, the card game, has just been cancelled. Star Wars Imperial Assault, the board game stuff, they've killed that off now as well. So it's not a guaranteed success. It still has to be a good game at the heart of it. You can't just slap the license on and hope for the best. And if you remember back, like I don't know how old you are to be fair, but I remember back to being a kid and playing video games, and as soon as there was a movie tie-in, the game was going to be pretty garbage, to be fair, because all of the money had gone on the license and not on the development of the game. And I do think that still happens today when it comes to tabletop as well. There's a lot of money spent on the license and less money and time spent on the development sometimes. Where are we at? Alcin, he gets misty-eyed when he sees first edition hardbacks of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. But again, I bet if you went back and played first edition versus maybe fourth edition now, it's moved on a long way, hasn't it? It doesn't mean that the old system was terrible. It doesn't mean the old system was much better. We've just learned a lot. Like we've learned how to sort of distill things down. It's like Kings of War, for example, is on its third edition now, and it's a more streamlined version or an easier to get to grips with version of the first one, because things have changed. You learn from the mistakes, you learn from the gaps, you learn from the kind of corner cases that come out, and games are like that. So to just go back and replicate an old game just because people like the idea of it doesn't make it a good game by this standard now. And as I mentioned last week as well on the live stream, just being a good game these days is not good enough anymore. You've got to be a great game to really kind of keep your place in the market. Paul saying a new IP is more of a risk. It definitely is, mate. I mean, it goes without a shadow of a doubt a new IP is a risk. However, companies do it, and to some kind of degree of success as well. Like I said before, just because it's a license. If you put Marvel on something, if you put Star Wars on something, if you put Horizon Zero Dawn on something, you're instantly going to attract sort of free marketing, if you like, because people will start talking about it. And sometimes I almost think that's why it happens. It just gets it in front of a wider audience, and it gets people talking. But the game still has to live up to it. Now, there are certain games that have taken licensing and done absolutely smashing jobs. I will always sing the praises of the games like Walking Dead, where I think they've really stayed true to what the license is, but created a really, really good game. There are other games, like Harry Potter, for example, which have been universally panned, and unfortunately, those games were written by the same person. So it just goes to show that sometimes, like, license is not enough to salvage something, and you can't even say it was the difference between different games creators. I find that kind of stuff quite interesting. Paul saying GW doesn't have talented games designers. I would disagree, mate. They might not always balance things to people's things, but they've created some good games over the years. I mean, Warcry, because it's recent and I've been enjoying it, is a great game that's come from talented designers. So to say they haven't got any, I think is a bit harsh, to be fair, I think. Robert saying the thing about nostalgia is it's all about the good times tied to the game experience, as in good times with friends and great in-game moments. And that's exactly the point, mate. Sometimes we remember games a lot better than they actually were because there was a lot less choice back then. But you remember where you were, you remember who you were playing with, you remember the fun you had around the game. I've mentioned it on a few live streams now that actually when it comes down to it sometimes, the game is less important than you might think. It's more about, are you having fun with the people you're playing with? You can almost forgive a bad game if it gives you a good experience with a group of friends. And at the end of the day, that's all you want, isn't it? It's like, it doesn't matter if you're playing a 5-hour game of 40k or if you're playing a 15-minute card game. If you're having fun, it doesn't really matter what the game is sometimes. And I think nostalgia plays into that. But unfortunately, you look back with nostalgia and maybe think you were having a better time than you actually were. It's a bit like when you go back and watch an old film. You're like, oh, I love that film. I used to watch it loads when I was a kid. And you go back and watch it now with kind of maybe a different mindset and maybe a different eye on things and think, God, that film wasn't that good, was it? Douglas is saying, the only nostalgia I have with Warhammer is the fact that my friendly game store in the 90s, he couldn't afford the game, but I lusted over it. It took me 30 years to get into Warcry. It's funny that, and it's like, I remember Blood Bowl when I was a kid because my friend's brother, his older brother, played it, and I remember seeing all the little miniatures on the shelves and stuff, and I remember thinking, when I get older, I think I'll play something like that. So I never played it. I saw the little metal miniatures when I was a kid, but then years later into my 30s, when I kind of tried Blood Bowl for the first time, it was like, oh, it's not for me. It's funny how these things come around. What else we got here as well? We got somebody just joined as a member there. William Jones has become a member. Thank you very much, William. That's very, very kind of you, buddy. Especially after joining the Patreon this week as well. Thank you very much. If you're not aware, William, as well, do make sure that you come over and check out, if you become a member either as a member here or as a Patreon, we have the Discord channel as well, which is for members and Patreons to come across. So if you check out the Patreon posts, you'll see a link to the Discord channel. It's kind of like chatting like this, but it happens 24/7. So yeah, please do come over. Where are we at? Tim Kelly's in as well. Nice to see you, Tim. He said, nostalgia ain't what it used to be. In my day, nostalgia was a lot better. I like that. Bill Wilson says, Warcraft has a tabletop game. I'm not sure, mate. I remember reading that, and I wasn't sure if I read it wrong or not. I'm not sure if it does or not. Tony saying, there's a comparison with retro video games for me. Only a few have enough about them to make me play them now. Modern 8-bit games turn me right off. A perfect example is, me and my wife were out shopping not too long ago, and my wife saw for the Nintendo Switch, you could get a cartridge which had Aladdin and the Lion King on, and they were the original kind of Sega, Mega Drive, Genesis, Nintendo Entertainment System ones, the NES. They were the original games from there, so they weren't updated versions. They were the original games on this cartridge. And it was only kind of cheap, so we picked it up. My wife used to enjoy playing them platform games when she was a kid. I absolutely loved the Aladdin game. I remember playing it to death on my Mega Drive. So we put it on the Switch, kind of put it on, and it was fun. Don't get me wrong, I had fun, but like things have moved a long way since those games. And that's definitely nostalgia. I would never have picked that game up without that nostalgic kind of feeling of remembering how much fun I had playing it. But it was within context of what I was playing alongside it. Yeah, very different. Very different. Red Rose Wargaming saying, I have lots of nostalgia for Battle Masters. I never played that. So I remember playing it when I was a little. Can't remember if it was a good game. Just have good memories of it. Yeah, I think a lot of people have stuff like that. I don't know. They have kind of good memories of stuff when they were kids. We're looking at Archie saying, Andy spoke about gatekeeping in a previous video. Is that due to nostalgia? I think there is an element of gatekeeping in nostalgia, or nostalgia in gatekeeping, because people don't want it to change. They don't want it to move on from what they enjoy, and they want it to always stay the same that it always was sometimes. And I think there's definitely a link between the two. Now, when I talked about gatekeeping, it was specifically about Dungeons and Dragons, and it was about a time when people were complaining about, like when I was, and I'm being very generalistic here, but it was the one tweet that set this whole thing off was a case of, when I was a kid, I got bullied for playing Dungeons and Dragons, and now all them people that bullied me want to be the cool kids and they want to come and play. Well, they can't. I'm not changing the game for them to make it acceptable to a wider audience. It's my game. Everybody else can basically screw it. That was a general version of what they said. And whilst I completely understand games shouldn't change to pander to a new generation, it doesn't mean that they shouldn't move on. They shouldn't adapt. They shouldn't improve. And there's a there's a difference between staying the same and being a bit of a gatekeeper and digging your heels in and saying this game should never change, and the game improving, becoming more streamlined, becoming easier to access that game, but keeping the core of the game the same, keeping the feel of the game the same, but it just happens to open it up to a wider audience. And if you're a company that sells games, you want it to open up to a wider audience. That's how you grow the game. That's how you make money. That's how your business survives. If you just sit on this 20-year-old game and say, I'm not changing it, your company might not be around for much longer in that case. We've got Monley in. He says, I recently got into Warcry as time and space is limit for me, and I love AOS lore a lot and skirmish games. How excited are you for its future? I hope it keeps going for years. First of all, Monty, thank you very much for coming in. I'm quite excited. I still love Warcry. I still love the fact it's a really, really simple game to get into. I love the fact I don't feel like I have to kind of study in order to keep playing the game. So I can go weeks, I can go a month without playing, and I can dive straight back in again. I like the fact it's a low entry point. I like the fact that we've just seen that they're starting to release box sets for some existing AOS factions. So one of my complaints was, I like that you could pick up a warband and just play it out of the box. But when it came to the existing AOS factions, you maybe had to jump around. Depending upon which faction you went for, you had to maybe jump around between different boxes. Like, I'll pick up this Start Collecting box, so there's £55, and that gets me some of the stuff I want. But then I've got to pick up a box of these ones, because there's 2 models out of this box I want. And then I've got to pick up the cards, so there's another £5 or whatever. That was a little bit clunky. I didn't like that. Bringing out these kind of faction boxes, I think, is a really, really good move. So I'm looking forward to seeing what effect that has on the game as well. But it definitely feels like it's kind of here to stay for the moment. I think they've got a 2 or 3 year plan, which they seem to be executing. I think they've supported it better than any other recent game outside of their big 2. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes in the future. I like the fact that it's just a fun game to play, and it doesn't take too long, and it doesn't take up too much space. I just really enjoy the game. Christopher says, GW standpoint is just play your army list and you'll get good enough to podium. Bullshit. Yeah, I would agree that that's not strictly true, mate. I think you can I think all armies, you can spend a lot of time and play that list and try and get good at it. But I think with every subsequent book that comes out, there's a bit of a power creep. And it's no surprise the last 2 books out were the powerful ones. No doubt we'll see something like Caradron Overlords coming soon as well. We'll see them sort of sneak their way to the top of the list as well. It's a bit of an arms race. If you're somebody that wants to kind of compete top tables, it's a bit of an arms race. Makes no difference if you're playing locally with your mates. You can kind of forget that stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, somebody kind of picks up the latest army and can sort of turn one, take people off the table sometimes. Christian saying, grab yourself a new t-shirt and help support the channel. Add some style to your wardrobes. I like that, mate. Yeah. Thank you very much. Anybody that does want to check that out, it's a Teespring store there. Thank you very much. Simon saying, apparently there'll be some games of Warhammer 40k 2nd edition going on at a local club. 100% nostalgia. I'd be really interested, Simon, if you kind of play or you find out a bit more about it, and let me know if it was as good as everyone remembers, or do they just get bogged down in what's like an old clunkier rule set now. It'd be interesting to kind of... I never played those games then, so I'm not looking back on them with nostalgia. I just probably find them a difficult rule set, I think. Thomas says, GW has a massive amount of fluff attached with the books. I'd not considered this until recently, and I can't remember where I heard this, but basically one of the things that was kind of called out as one of the problems with Games Workshop in their rule books is there is so much kind of fluff. It might have been Countercharge podcast. There's so much fluff attached to their rules that it's all mixed together. So like there'll be a rule for how a model acts, but it's surrounded in fluff text. So then you've got to kind of pick around in there to find out what is the actual rule we're talking about. So it's interesting you kind of say that. It makes it really thematic, but it can also make it quite difficult to just pick out the important information to play the game. That's for sure. Tony Howell, good evening, mate. I don't know if I've said hello to you tonight. Good evening. I think nostalgia can be a useful hook for the target market, but keeping things fresh is extremely important. I agree with both points, but what I would counter with is the target market big enough if you're using nostalgia as the hook? That's the bit for me, because as we all get older, that nostalgia group gets smaller and smaller, doesn't it? Because we're either not playing games or we're not interested in those ones now, or like nostalgia will always be there. Don't get me wrong. That's why things like Stranger Things. That's why I used that kind of Stranger Things sort of font and stuff for the thumbnail tonight. Stranger Things is based on nostalgia. It's based on the 80s. It's based on kind of that D&D kind of pull and stuff. So of course nostalgia will always be a thing. But I just unless you're going to put a new spin on nostalgia, take that theme and put a new spin on it. Don't just cut and paste it. That's kind of where I feel. Robert's having a chat there. Craig saying nostalgia's not what it used to be. Where we are. Jumping around all over. I think I finally got to the bit where William joined as a member as well. I think I might have to skip ahead here because I'm going to be here all night catching up with this chat. If anybody knows how many we've got in the chat tonight, I did say if we get to 100, I'd do a giveaway for a mug, and I can't see. I think we've got about 87 in, and this doesn't always kind of it doesn't always give me the latest numbers. I normally see the latest numbers a day after, so keep an eye on it. If the count goes above 100, somebody tell me, because then we'll do a giveaway for a mug. Where are we at? I'll just dive in here. I apologise if I miss any of your questions, and people, please just at BlackJack Legacy if you've got something that you really want to specifically tell me as well. Neil saying there, Jet Set Willie or Manic Miner. I remember them both, to be fair. And looking back on them, neither of them are great games. Andy says the Aliens game was good. I assume you mean the later Aliens game, the Isolation one, mate. That was a good game, actually. Douglas is saying FFG and the Star Wars IP was oversaturated, and thus it failed too much too soon. Yes, I agree. You can overdo it. You can milk it a little bit too much. Paul saying Moonwater game was good. God, I'm well behind. I need to catch up a bit. Richard saying loves a bit of nostalgia. Exactly as you say, back in the hobby in his 30s after clearing out his parents' house. I mean, to be fair, it was nostalgia that I guess that got me back into gaming, and I've mentioned this many, many times. But when I found out when I wasn't going out as much because the twins were quite young, I walked past Games Workshop and kind of remembered them from like my mate's brother and stuff when I was younger, and I picked up something to build and paint. So of course it's nostalgia sometimes that gets us back into it. But the worry is that kids of our generation now who don't pick up Games Workshop stuff won't ever have that nostalgia. So something else has to drag them back in at some point. Alcin, he's never played AD&D beyond first edition. Hence the nostalgia. I'd feel lost in the current edition. I bet you'd probably find it easier than you think, mate. Bone Ripper, good evening, Bone Ripper. Says, evening all, sucker for nostalgia. Just got into this and tried to learn from old habits of buying. Yeah, I don't blame you, mate. Good evening, Ruth, as well. Just saw your name there. And I've just seen Alan Moore as well. Good evening to you too, Al. Gene is saying a great new game. Long-standing games keep stumbling along as they have large enough old fan bases. I think these days, though, that's not enough anymore. It was different when there wasn't a lot of choice. These days, people, outside of the kind of the big GW stuff, people seem to flit around a little bit more these days because games are just more wide varied and the quality of miniatures has gone up. So I do wonder how long that will continue to be a thing. Jiplin saying there, GW got great game designers but awful release model. I guess if you're a shareholder, mate, you wouldn't be saying it was awful. They've made a hell of a lot of profits over the last few years. But yeah, I do know what you're saying. Andy says, I'm so happy I've won a mug. We'll see about that, mate. Let's see if we get over 100 viewers tonight. We were close last week. I think we got 95 or 96 last week. We dip in and out over 100 most weeks now. It's getting quite cool. Although since I mentioned it now, it's dropped off. Richard said, license costs always been a big problem in computer games as well. Sports games in particular. Huge money for the players' names and likeness. Although I do remember Daley Thompson's Decathlon being one of my favourite games when I was a kid. Maybe he was a lot cheaper. He was no Michael Jordan, was he? Let's be honest. Buzz is in as well. He says, I think people's tastes change. You might not like a game when you're a kid, but now as an adult you really enjoy it. Yeah, and I think it's probably the opposite as well. You probably look back on stuff thinking, I really enjoyed it when I was a kid, and it just doesn't float your boat now. Craig says his group loved Car Wars. I don't think we touched the new version, mainly due to the cost, and Gaslands being a better, simpler game. And I mean, let's not be beat about the bush. Gaslands is pulling on nostalgia. It's pulling on Mad Max. It's pulling on the old Car Wars games. It's pulling on Dark Future, was it as well? So yeah, nostalgia is alive and well, that's for sure. Kieran says one thing about nostalgia is because they're so grounded in our minds and have simpler rule sets, they're some of the easiest games to play. I'm not sure they always have simpler rule sets, mate, if I'm honest. I think sometimes they're a little bit clunky to... because there's just like more streamlined rule sets now. We've learned a lot through game development. Some games were a lot simpler, but not always, I wouldn't say. Like, sort of, old Necromunda certainly isn't as streamlined as you would like it to be. Where are we at? Thank you, William, for joining as a member, by the way. Thank you very much. I just saw that bit. Christian is just giving the Patreon group a little push as well. Patreon is going really well at the moment, folks. I think at the minute we have 35 Patreons, which is the highest number of Patreons I've had. It's not the highest amount of income I've had. As we lost a couple of higher ones in the last month, I think. But I've gained a lot of people at entry pledge levels, which is amazing. I've always said I'd rather have lots of people at lower levels and everybody enjoying it. So please never feel that like sort of $2. Think of it as kind of buying me a cup of coffee to say thank you or something like that once a month. Yeah, every little helps, and it's that kind of stuff that helps me bring forward that release date when I start doing this full time. It's looking good. Everything's on track. So yeah, keep it up. Tom the Bomb is saying, first of all, hello Skull Munch. Nice to see you too, fella. Tom the Bomb is saying, in regards to D&D First Edition, I was there live and it was spectacular. But now everything is to try and have a rule for every situation, and it tends to slow the game down. That's quite interesting, really, because I've not really played D&D, so it's all kind of new to me. But it's interesting when you say there's got to be a rule for every situation, because actually, it's sometimes easier to just make that rule up on the fly, isn't it? Maybe we expect too much these days. William says, thanks, love the channel. Thank you very much, mate. It makes what's the word I'm looking for? It's really kind. It's really nice when people say nice things about the channel, and when they by showing support, you obviously kind of sort of believe in what I'm trying to do as well. So thank you very much, buddy. Paul says, where do I find the Teespring discount code from the Patreon? It's in the Patreon, mate. If you go into the Patreon page and if you look in the Patreon only posts, there's a code in there, mate, which will get you your Patreon discount off merch. Although it is at a certain pledge level and above. So let me double check for you, mate, because I can't remember where you are and I can't remember at what level that. I'm pretty sure you're at the right level, though. Don't worry. Warforge is in as well. Good evening, Warforge. Good evening, Craig. Paul McElroy saying good evening as well. Dice Tales is in. Why do I always want to go, woo? I am Mark. How you doing, mate? So I remember going to Blockbusters, leaving the house and having a limited choice. Good times. Bloody hell, yeah. Those are the days, mate. Getting there and remember when the new releases come out, if you didn't get there early, they'd all be rented out and then you'd have to wait, mate. And then somebody the person working there would find a return in the returns bin, and it was like winning the lottery. Gene saying, first tabletop wargame was BattleTech. I don't know much about BattleTech, but I keep hearing a lot about it. I don't know if maybe it wasn't a big thing in the UK. I don't remember BattleTech at all, if I'm honest. Flying Mammal says, on PC, Lion King was impossible. Aladdin is still stupidly hard, but one of my fave older games on PC. Yeah, I played them on Mega Drive, I remember. But yeah, there's a cheat on the Nintendo Switch one. You can rewind it. So if you die, you can rewind it back to the bit before you died and give it another go. Never had that when I was a kid. Kieran saying Battle Masters is still good. Or at least he said that before I jumped off the top of my screen anyway. Played it 4 times before Christmas. I remember you saying now, mate. Thank you, Christian, for pointing Palmsy in the right place there. Where are we at? Let's have a look. Peter Nicholas, how much looking back to a rosier, easier past is due to your brain being more malleable when you're young? There's an element of that, mate, isn't there? It's definitely kind of like, yeah, you kind of, you have less worries, I suppose. You have more time on your hands, maybe. You commit to stuff, maybe, because you get obsessed by it and you plow all your time into it. There's definitely a link to that kind of stuff. Lee says, also chuffed about more AOS factions in Warcry. Really like how simple it is with some cinematic stuff. That's the thing for me. I mean, I've chatted to kind of Doug from 2 Plus Tough a few times, and we both kind of agree on that. Those memorable moments, and Warcry has that. And I think it's because it's quite a cinematic feel. The idea of being able to jump around between different buildings and different levels, and kind of jump down and swing an axe, and not that horrible feeling of jumping down, swinging an axe, and hitting, and then someone goes, "Oh no, I've saved that." I just managed to get my shield up in time. That kind of spoils those kind of cinematic moments. So yeah, I like how it is. King John is in. Good evening, fella. He said he's greetings from the Panhandle of Texas. Yeehaw, mate. How you doing? Where are we at? Mark says, I think as a kid I couldn't afford the books and the models, and I made up my own, very creative, drew pictures and backgrounds and stat lines. Yeah, I say I wasn't into the gaming back then, but I certainly... It's like I couldn't afford lots of computer games or video games when I was a kid, so I would play things to death. I would absolutely play them and finish them before I'd buy another one. We're a bit more kind of sort of consumerist now, aren't we? We just absorb stuff rather than actually enjoy it sometimes. Tony was saying 86 at the moment. It's bouncing around, mate, up and down. So yeah, 90 watching. I just saw 90. I think mine's kind of. I don't think the number I see on the background stuff isn't always the latest number. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it. If it clocks over at some point, then we'll make sure that there's a giveaway. Where we are? He says only got 35. Mark says only 35 likes on the video though. Can't believe that. Disgraceful, people. Still going for that mug, Andy Smith, aren't you? Clive was saying my favourite game is Zero Nostalgia, and it's only 10 years old too. Yes, mate. I bet it is as well. Bloggy's saying, hi everyone. Hope everyone had a good and productive weekend. Unfortunately, mine wasn't productive. Bloggy, I hope you're well, mate. I hope it's nothing too bad, mate. James Hart saying Gaslands is an example of the perfect middle ground. Or is Gaslands? Nostalgia for old Car Wars players, and also modern slick rules with low entry cost. Yeah. I wonder. It's a funny one because it's not aimed, I suppose, at your typical gamer, is it? It's aimed at somebody a little bit different, but I'm not sure. William says, bear in mind on the watch account, it's 2:45 Eastern in the US. This happens to be a holiday. Oh, I keep forgetting about that, mate. Yeah, it is a holiday, mate, isn't it? What I tend to find, I'm going to have to find out at some point whereabouts, what other time of the day would be a good time to do a live stream for like overseas audience, and try and understand that, because at the point when I do this full time, which is happening soon, I keep talking about it because I'm bloody excited about it. At the point when I get to do this full time, I'm going to throw an extra live stream in probably every week, and it'll be more aligned with kind of like US viewers and stuff, because I get a lot of US viewers in these live streams, and I get a lot of US viewers who watch them after the fact as well. So I want to try and kind of sort of help give back to that community as well, because I enjoy the live streams. It's good to be able to have the chat, but I appreciate for some of you sort of guys out in the US and guys down like in Australia and stuff as well. It's a big commitment. People like VJ and people like that, kind of, this is like early morning for you guys, and then you got over in the States, this is kind of like middle of the afternoon for some of you. So yeah, I'll need to work that out at some point. But yeah, maybe that's why numbers are a bit different tonight. Where we are, Mark saying, just a thought for February the 3rd live stream, best and favourite sport games. It's the Monday after Super Bowl and first week of the Six Nations. I wonder if we just end up with just everybody going, Blood Bowl. I don't know. It's not a bad shout though. I'll look into that one. Deep Red, God, now I want Ball Masters. Bobby Clark, nice to see you, fella. Said he started gaming with 2nd edition 40k, which required a science degree. That's kind of how I think about things, mate. Excuse me. I think my tea's gone a bit cold now. Excuse me. Paul said I couldn't afford much when I was a kid. That's why I spend all my money now. Yeah, I think I did the same thing as well, mate. And Angry Grot says League of Legends, by the way. League of Legends has adapted though, hasn't it, as well, though? That's the thing. It's not the same, not exactly the same game it was. It's been updated over time. But yeah, I agree, it's a hell of a game. Red Rose War Game, Anna says, have you figured out how you're going to spend your £10 winnings? I'm still weighing up all of the different options. So yeah, once it arrives in the post, I'll decide how I'm going to spend my £10. Tom the Bomb, if you're older than 50, does that count as 2 viewers to the show? I must be about 1 3/4 in that case, mate. Douglas is saying, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the chat. Thank you very much, Douglas. And don't forget, if you like this kind of sort of chat, this kind of sort of talking head type stuff, please do check out Reluctant Artie's channel as well. Hasn't long been doing the channel, very, very new to this, but is already cranking out some fantastic kind of thought-provoking videos. And I'm certainly a fan of what he's doing. So yeah, please do go and check it out. Deep Red, I just found that piece of chocolate I thought I'd lost. Get in. I love that, mate. I love you just found some chocolate. Tom saying a senior increase. Where are we at? Steve's shouting for Dreadball as well. Christopher Water. Yeah, futuristic sports is still sports, aren't they? Definitely. Christopher's saying it's like a bank holiday today in the US. In that case, there's no excuse. I should be flooded with people who spent their afternoon watching me. Jim says, yeah, chat starts at 4 o'clock for me, catching from the start for the holiday. I'll have to, at some point, I'll have to have a bit of a chat with you US folks and try and see if I can make it a bit of a better time for the US and Australian market as well. Because this one seems to work okay for kind of, for UK and for Europeans. But yeah, it's a bit of a funny time, I think, for the US sometimes. Tony says, I suppose when we're young, games would cost a significant amount of money, so we're more inclined to really give it time. I do wonder that, mate. Yeah, I wonder if that is the case. Like you almost kind of, it wasn't disposable then. It was like, right, you've got this new game, you will enjoy it, you will put the time in, you will play it, kind of thing. I don't remember playing a lot of video games or board games and stuff where I didn't play them more than like multiple times. So interesting. Doug says he's drinking cold Yorkshire Gold. Can get a biscuit? I could do with a biscuit actually. Yeah. Steve's on the Thatcher's Haze, and Paul's on the peppermint tea. I'm on the green tea actually. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather at the minute. I've kind of fighting off a bit of a cold. I woke up this morning absolutely kind of bunged up, and my mouth felt awful. I've been on kind of drinking loads of water today. I've been on kind of green tea. I'm trying to flush my system, I think. I'm feeling a bit under the weather, coming down with something. So, yeah. Need to try and be a bit healthier, I think. I'll say I left my drink in the kitchen. It's water. Wait, what was I just going to say there? I was going to just talk about something and I forget what it was. No doubt it'll come back. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Games. So, talking about kind of playing games, putting more time into them. I'm making a conscious effort after the live stream 2 weeks ago, which was the buy less, play more. I'm making a point of trying to play the games I've got and really get some time out of them. So I broke out Batman Gotham City Chronicles at the weekend, Friday night I think it was. I bought it, I got it as part of the Kickstarter. I'd looked in the box at all the nice Batman miniatures, did absolutely nothing with it. The rule book was an absolute nightmare, and I just kind of read through it and went, bollocks to that. That can go on the shelf for now. I'll get back to it at some point. As part of what I'm trying to do now, I got that game out and I put some time into watching YouTube videos to try and see how to play it, to trying to read through the rulebook and trying to understand it. It was a hard slog, I'll be honest. I really did have, and I guess coming back to what Tony was saying there, I felt like I'm going to put time and effort into it. I've already paid for the game. I'm going to try and play it. And I eventually managed to kind of get my head around the rules and play a game. And I'll be honest, I enjoyed it. It's not a bad game. I quite enjoyed it. The rulebook is awful. I would say it is probably the worst rulebook I have ever read for any game. It is fantastic as a reference guide. So if you know how to play, the layout of it is pretty good to be able to go back and reference the little bit that you want. There's some really good flow charts in it, if you like, that will to kind of take you through step by step. But it is an awful rulebook. There are way too many different symbols in the game. However, once you've played it and you kind of get to grips with it, you do start to become kind of second nature, and it becomes a lot easier as well. But the game is pretty good. I enjoyed it. I had a good game of it, and I'll definitely play it again and play through some of the other missions. Now I've got my head around it. But it probably comes back, Tony, to what you were just talking about there, about that. Stick with it. Put time and effort into it. Like, I'm fortunate, like, kind of, I've managed to pick up a lot of different games over the last kind of few years, especially around the YouTube stuff as well. And it's really easy to just go, that's awful. It's too much like hard work. I'll try something different. I'll play something different. And I want to go back and try and like kind of enjoy some of these games. So I went back, played it, really enjoyed it. I also, at the weekend, I've got Season 2 of Pandemic Legacy. Me and my wife absolutely loved Season 1. I've had Season 2 sitting on my shelf ever since just before we finished Season 1. Haven't broken it open yet. And it's like, right, we love playing that. Let's get it open. Let's play through that again. And we're getting back into playing more games together again now. I'm trying to make a point now of sort of getting my money's worth out of stuff that I've bought. And really giving things a second chance where I haven't really gotten away with it the first time. And I don't think I've spent any hobby money in the last month, which is completely like sort of unbelievable for me. But I'm playing more because I'm making a point of saying, right, I'm going to give that a try. I'm going to get that out. I'm going to play it, and I'm enjoying that at the minute. So how have you sort of changed anything you've done this year around that? Did the Buy Less Play More podcast, the live stream, did it influence you at all? Did you just say bollocks to it? I'm just going to buy what I want anyway. Be interested to know if anybody else has kind of made any different plans. Kieran says, Nambury tea. I have no idea what that is. Proper Northern Ireland brew. I have never heard of it, mate. Lee's on the water. Chris has got a pot of coffee. I'm trying to pull back on the coffee, mate. I used to get really bad headaches if I went a day without a cup of coffee, and I'm trying to kind of pull back from that and try and wean myself off. I love coffee, especially really nice kind of strong coffee. So I'm trying to wean myself off that now. Tony's saying Yorkshire biscuit tea. I've still never had biscuit tea yet. I must try that. Sparkling water for Peter Nicholas. So if Skullmunch is still around and Flying Mammal, we've gone from Mugwatch these days to just to beverage choice. Steve saying, healthy, I'm not at work tomorrow, so cider. Go for it, mate. Tom saying, a lot of games back then you just didn't know about them if your local store didn't carry them. You're 100% right, mate. Even these days, there's a lot of games we don't get to find out about because those companies are quite new and maybe don't have the kind of time or resources to put into market, and it's a shame, really. Steve's just finished his Elf Dragon Lord. I want to see pictures of that, mate, in the Facebook group. I do like those elves. The elf dragons, rather. Tony said, Batman rulebook sucks. Learn from the videos and had a demo. Even the videos aren't great because they're too long. It's like the videos to learn to play it are like an hour long. And I don't want to put an hour into learning to play the game before I've even kind of played. I just wish you need to know too much stuff to get playing. But once you do, it's fine, which was frustrating. Jipman says, I made a spreadsheet of games I've played and or painted and the amount of money I've spent on it. I've also recorded what I've sold off. So quite close as my hobby is free. That's a nice feeling, isn't it? I need to sell some stuff off soon as well. Just to have a bit of a clear out of stuff I know for a fact I'm never going to play. So yeah. Watch, if anybody's got spare cash, watch out on eBay. I'll tell you when they come up for sale. Mark saying 20-ish days into the year and not bought a new game as yet. More importantly, no plans to. I've been tempted a couple of times with a few things. I'm still keep getting tempted by Marvel Crisis Protocol. I see loads of that online at the minute, and I'm liking the miniatures, to be fair. So I'm tempted on that one, but yeah, I'm resistant at the moment. I'm enjoying picking up my Kings of War stuff. I'm enjoying sort of getting my slow grow stuff together, get my army finished. I've got a load of stuff all ready for that as well, so I'm not having to spend any money on it. I've got loads of like these board games and stuff, things like Batman, things like Hellboy. I've got loads of stuff I can sit and paint if it's just for painting's sake. And I want to try and make the most out of stuff I've already spent, really. And if I go back and play them games and find out that they're not games I want to play, then I will happily sell them on. But I don't want to sell stuff on without giving stuff a fair crack of the whip, if you like. Where are we at? Dice Tales, what game was just mentioned? It was Batman Gotham City Chronicles, buddy. Stacey, love playing board games with the missus. Back playing Dreadball on Saturday nights at the moment. Loving it. She keeps battering me. So, yes, I mentioned this a little while ago as well. I'm going to start doing a monthly podcast, which is going to be for Patreon members. And the first episode is going to be me and my wife. So she's not keen on coming on a video, but to sit and chat. To sit and have a chat on a podcast for kind of like 45 minutes or an hour or something like that. We can do that, and we're going to chat about our kind of gaming and stuff, and the kind of stuff that we enjoy, and why we kind of enjoy those kind of things. So if you are interested, we plan to record that this week. It'll be good if anybody wants to join the Patreon and check those out when they come. That will be awesome. Where we are, Bloggy says it's going to be hard for me. The buy less, play more. Marvel just came out, and I got back into Legion. Just play more, mate. Play more. There's nothing wrong with buying more if you're playing them games. It's buying more when you're not playing them. That's when it feels like a bit of a waste. Yeah, Doug's had a bit of a spending spree there. I'm not going to go through all that. Kirill says, do you remember any game on which you feel nostalgia but is not present or have no analogues on the market now? Not for me, mate. Like I say, I didn't get into the game until much, much later. I went into my 30s, really. So I haven't got that pull, but it'd be interesting to hear what anybody else says. Tim says, absolutely concentrating on games I own. Put loads of stuff on eBay at the weekend and felt good. 90 quid already. Nice one, mate. It's really good to kind of see people are embracing it a bit, really. Doug saying just got a text of that Warcry stuff. Yeah. Alison, tough day at work. Cheeky Corona. I could just do it being now, mate, to be fair. Greg saying, I know you have Hellboy. Play that. It's easy and super fun, even with two people. I to be fair, I have played it a couple of times, and I do like the game. It's more just a case of I went through a phase of just not playing any kind of board games and stuff, to be honest. So I'm not planning to sell Hellboy. But yeah, some of my other stuff. Like, as an example, Silver Tower, I really enjoy, but it's not a game my wife enjoys. She doesn't really like the game. So I do wonder whether I'm actually ever going to get it to the table. It's got all those miniatures in it. I can use some of them in Warcry, but is it really worth hanging on to them for that? Am I better off selling it on to somebody that's going to kind of get some love out of that game? Lizzie Binham says, very tempted by the new Warcry pre-orders. Yes, especially the new scenery set as well. I like the new scenery set. James is tempted by a bit of Marvel as well. Thomas is saying he's trying to get rid of his Necromunda Underhigh starter box from a few years back. Love the old game, but the new version's been sitting on his shelf. Mine too, mate. That's another game that's exactly the same, been sitting on my shelf. Greg said he's just got a motherload of Turtles Kickstarter that delivered. I've heard good things about that, actually, mate. I hope you enjoy it. Mark saying, here's selling stuff and then regret it, but buy it back. Descent 2nd Edition, Lord of the Rings, various board games. I tend to think, well, that's why I'm going through this kind of like playing them stuff, like getting some play time out of them. Because I'd hate to sell something I'd not really given a fair crack of the whip to and then regret it later on. But I've got Space Hulk on my shelf. I never play a Space Hulk. Like, it's not getting any game time out of me. I'd be far better off selling it to somebody who would actually enjoy it, especially as you can't buy it now. So, like, I've got Gears of War, the board game. That's out of print as well. I'm never probably going to play it. I quite enjoyed the game, but I've played it like 5 times ever. That's probably best off going to somebody who's going to get some game time out of it. Mark's planning to purchase more Burrows and Badgers. Kieran says probably role player's biggest nostalgia for him. D&D, fantasy role player, Call of Cthulhu, some big titles. Yeah, role play is something I never ever got into. I didn't know anybody who did kind of like Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid. And to be fair, locally I don't really know many now either. Peter says, still no new game purchases. Saw a new Necromunda game on eBay, such a low price. I almost bid despite having a new copy already. You can get caught up in the bargains, mate, can't you? Thomas said he's trying to buy less and play more. Most importantly, he's forcing himself to sell everything that's not being touched. Nice one. Family of Gamers is in. Good evening, mate. I assume it's Coach, mate, is it? How you doing? So he's looking forward to meeting you here in the States. Definitely, mate. It'd be great to see to meet up face to face, and I definitely owe you a beer, mate, and we'll have a nice little catch up. Mark says, did you ever try that Terminator game? I did, mate, and it was all right, to be fair. It wasn't too bad at all. I ended up putting it into a raffle for one of our weekenders, mate, so I don't have it anymore now. But yeah, it was all right, actually. I quite like the activations in it. Greg says, Marvel is up there with Warcry at my table. Easy fun just to sit and play for a bit. Is Marvel easy to get into? Because the stuff that I've struggled watching the videos online. I feel like it's a little bit kind of more complex than it needs to be. But I wonder whether I'm just kind of not picking up on maybe I'm not picking good videos to watch, if you like. So is Marvel relatively straightforward to play? Jippin said he's excited for Ninja Turtles Batman animated series 1 soon. A Batman animated series? Oh, don't get me started. Coach there is working on his Dread and his Strontium Dog sets from Warlord. Speaking of nostalgia, there's two perfect ones. Was Strontium Dog much of a big thing in the States? It was certainly more of a British thing, especially with it being a kind of British comic. But was Strontium Dog as big in the States? Lee said, I saw my copy of Space Hulk last year, been sitting there for ages. As well. Worked out I hadn't played in about 8 years. Mine's the same, mate. I bought mine second hand off somebody. I've tried to play it once, but you can't really play it solo. It's not really a game that seems to interest kind of any of my friends or my family. So yeah, it's immaculate. It's absolutely brand new. It'd be better off going to somebody that's going to play it. Where are we at? Ken Wood is in as well. Good evening, Ken. He says, I need to sell a whole bunch, but I know I'll regret the second they're gone. Do you think you will? Like, it's. I mean, buyer's remorse is a big thing, but do you really think you'll regret it if it's something that you're never going to play? Like, you've not played in years. Like Lee was just saying there, hadn't played Space Hulk in 8 years. I've played it once since I got it. Like I say, I tried to play it once. I don't think I even got a full game in. Where are we at? Tony's saying doing good here. Bought some hobby supplies this year, but no minis or games. I don't think I've bought any. Have I bought anything at all? Don't even think I've bought any paint or anything yet. Kieran said after his glut of buying in November, December. Yes, buddy. So I hit eBay selling route as well. Old Fantasy Battle, Orc Army, Folklore, the Fiction board game and extras. 200 quid back in the wallet. That's the way to go, fella. Doug saying, topic idea. What is an appropriate amount of table time does a game deserve to stay in your collection? It's interesting you say that, mate, and we're talking about kind of playing things more often. So one of the things leveled at Pandemic Legacy was you might only get to play it 12 times because you basically play over the 12 months of the year. If you beat the game the first time you play that month, you move on to the next month. If you don't beat the game the first time you play it a second time, and if you don't beat it the second time, you still move on. So you'll play it a minimum of 12 times for the 12 months, a maximum of 24 times if you lose every time. And there was a lot of pushback about, I don't like the idea of a game where basically I only play it 12 times and then I can't play it again. However, I see that as a game that I have played 12 times. I won't have many board games on my shelves that I've played 12 times. Outside of things like Exploding Kittens and some kind of small party games and stuff. But those bigger games, like I haven't played Hellboy 12 times. I haven't played Batman 12 times. Like I haven't played I haven't played Space Hulk 12 times. I haven't played Silver Towers 12 times. So it's quite interesting, really. I think you might kind of be onto something there a little bit, Doug. I think how much table time is value for money, if you like. Jitlin's agreeing on the Marvel and the Warcry comparisons. Tony's saying Marvel's dead easy to learn, really straightforward. Yeah, that might swing me a little bit if it's something I feel like I can kind of dive in and out of. I'm tempted to maybe look into it when I'm over in Adepticon and see if I can pick it up in the States. Where are we at? Kieran saying he's put effort in, you'll sell stuff. Better to selling at 20 quid in your pocket than dead weight on the shelf. I agree, mate, actually. It's dead money, isn't it? If it's going to sit there for another 8 years, it's money I haven't got in my pocket. And I've mentioned this before, obviously, I'm trying to build up a bit of a buffer of cash for when I go full-time on this channel and stuff. And why would I not sell this stuff off and kind of use that as a bit of a buffer? Might pay for my Adepticon trip anyway. Where are we at? Coach there saying 2000 AD was big, but only at comic collectors. It's awesome that I've been reading them for years and now I can get them to the table. Yeah, I remember reading 2000 AD when I was a kid and Judge Dredd and stuff. But and Strontium Dog was obviously a big part of that. But I think maybe as an individual IP, it was a strange one to go with. I'm surprised they didn't go more with like Judge Dredd out of the gate. Interesting though. VJ says no holes finished. Nice one, fella. Saying so desired to paint is returning. His Warcry terrain's up next. He's going to give it 2 or 4 hours before the will to live is once again crushed. Little and often, mate. That's the best way to do it. Paulie P, good evening, Paulie P. How are you doing, mate? Says he wants to buy desperately, but cannot get my paws on Zone Mortalis floor tiles for love nor money. It's interesting, actually, mate. I saw a lot of them when they first came out. They must be going to bring them back. Surely, I can't believe for 1 second they're not going to reprint those stuff. Oh, there again, we are talking about GW stuff, aren't we? VG is saying if anyone wants to see those no holes, the pics are in the Discord. They definitely are, mate. They're looking awesome as well. Flying Mammal, night all, says see you next time. Good night, Ruth. Take care. Speak soon. Doug saying I always compare it to a film. If a game costs him $60, I expect to play it at least 2 times. That's roughly the cost of a movie and popcorn. So for value, I can justify it, even if I play it a couple of times. For me, I don't necessarily kind of link it that way. It's more about how much enjoyment did I get. So, for example, if I only play it once, but I had an absolutely fantastic time playing it with a load of friends, then it was probably money well spent. But if I play it 5 times and I'm just going through the motions, that doesn't necessarily mean it was kind of better value, if you like. It's almost like money spent versus enjoyment I've gained from it, really. I guess that's kind of how in my head, that's how I kind of rationalize it anyway. Excuse me, my throat is starting to dry up a little bit now. Oh, dying here. Yes, so we're getting towards the end of the live stream anyway. We did, I think has it dropped out a couple of times, folks? It looks like my stream on there looks like it's maybe had a couple of dropouts during the stream. I don't know whether it did or not. But what was I just going to say? We didn't crack 100 tonight. We'll put it down to the American holiday, but we did crack, I think, 87, 88. I saw somebody said 90, so we were close to it. If when I go into the analytics in a couple of days, if I see that I topped 100 at any point, I will retrospectively kind of run the competition as well, so don't worry about that. Phil is saying, I have spoken to Andy Hall, head of specialist games at an event. Necromunda floor tiles are definitely coming back. Underestimated demand rather than limited. Don't pay over the odds. Good shout, mate. Good shout. VJ says, did we hit 100 viewers? No, mate. I don't think we did. I wonder if that's when the numbers drop off a bit. It says Peter saying he lost the stream twice for 30 seconds or so. I can see there's 2 like big spikes in it as well. So yeah, I apologise if that's kind of interrupted for people, but yeah, not much I can do about that. So, folks, just to kind of recap towards the end of the stream now, if anybody is interested in helping me and supporting the channel and the long-term kind of sort of sustainability of this, there are a number of ways you can do that. If you are shopping through any of my affiliate links, so I have one for Amazon, which Christian's very kindly sharing there. I also have one for Element Games as well. So if you're buying anything from Element Games, you pay the same price, and I make a small commission from that as well. That helps. That helps the longevity of the channel. If you would like to become a Patreon member, please do check that out. That starts from $2 per month. You can pay a little more than that as well, and there's some extra bonuses. For example, there's one pledge level where you get an exclusive Patreon-only t-shirt every 6 months. So yeah, there's a number of different ways that you can help support the channel. And for those that are kind of new around here as well, there are more videos coming soon. I'm starting to kind of work away from home less, which is freeing up me time to start working on the video stuff. And at some point this year, at the minute is the way everything's kind of lined up at the moment, I will be doing this full time from September. If I can increase my income in the short term, I'll be able to do it quicker than that. And that's kind of that's me being really honest. So don't expect it to happen in kind of like in the next month. But I need a period of time to build up a little bit of a buffer to kind of give me some fallback should the worst happen and it doesn't kind of go to plan. It just gives me an extra few months of buffer and stuff. So what I'm doing at the minute is I'm basically saving every penny I get to create that kind of buffer. So that's the plan. So if you do want to support the channel for the long-term future of it, I really would appreciate that. What it means is that basically I can kind of stay independent. I don't have to try and get any sponsorship type stuff. I don't have to try and kind of make paid videos and stuff. I can stay completely independent and stay completely impartial and give you my honest opinions really without any kind of feeling of being obliged to any companies or anything like that. So yeah, that's the plan. Where are we at? Different Busey saying he's still going to pick up Mortal Realms for a painting video. I'm tempted, mate. I've not seen one locally for me, so I'm starting to wonder whether I've probably missed the boat on it, mate. That's all. But who knows? I might do. VJ says, congrats, Andy. Great news, mate. Yeah. Paul saying September's his birthday, so I need to save money for that. Yeah. So essentially, I mean, when I come to kind of hand my notice in at work, I'll have to give a period of notice time there, like 3 months and stuff like that. So basically, that's why it'll be kind of September time, because I know I'll get to a point where between me and Lou, we'll have saved enough money to create that buffer, and then once I have, then I'll hand my notice in and stuff. So yeah, but if between now and then I get more Patreons, that builds up that buffer faster, which means I can hand my notice in earlier, essentially. So that's kind of what I'm trying to say. That basically anything you donate, whether that's from a super chat, whether it's becoming a member, whether it's Patreon, whether it's buying a T-shirt, whether it's buying something through an affiliate link, that is all getting pushed into this big kind of pot, or it needs to be big as well, the buffer, and that's where it's all going. And then at that point, that keeps the channel running and stuff, and it pays the bills and things. And then this becomes a full-time venture, and I can spend my time creating content, sort of running competitions, running all of these challenges and stuff, and really kind of plowing my all of my time into it, instead of just the odd hour here and there that I can grab on an evening. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Douglas is saying, awesome for you and Lou. You'll be so happy. I can't wait, mate. Honestly, just like that feeling of like sort of getting up and doing something that sort of fills you full of excitement every day. I can't wait. Mark said, I'll be joining the Pats this year. Just need to get over the house by. Hey, buddy, no pressure as well. I don't want anybody to think this is some kind of emotional blackmail. I'm just trying to explain to you why I'm running the Patreon, the reason behind it, and if you can support, it's hugely appreciated. But please, like, don't feel obliged. Don't feel obliged. Lee said he picked up issue 1 of Mortal Realms of Forbidden Planet. They only charged £1 postage. I didn't know they posted that out, mate. I should check that out, mate. Peter says, I find it very reassuring how you are progressing the channel. Keep it as it is and enjoy your life too. Yeah, I said this last week as well, essentially, is that there was a point when I started this kind of YouTube stuff that I wanted it to grow to big numbers and stuff like that over time. Now I'm not that bothered about subscriber numbers. I'm not that, what's more important to me is that there's an awesome community around it, and that essentially, as long as I can cross that threshold to kind of pay the bills I need. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking like less than minimum wage now, because my wife works as well, so there's a few other things have dropped into place financially in the background. So I don't need a lot of money from this. I just need enough, essentially, which is why that's allowed me to do it this year instead of like 3 or 4 or 5 years down the line. But yeah, I'm not in this to get like 50,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers. I just want to have fun. I don't want it to grow to the point where I can't interact like this. It's great. I mean, we've had roughly 90 people in tonight. It's kind of gone no lower than about 75, something like that. That's a great number of people to just sit and have a chat and to really kind of engage and have that conversation. So I'm enjoying it. I'm in a great place when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I hope you lot enjoy it too. And I can't wait to get sort of back into the full scale doing those videos again on a really frequent basis. Peter says, and reassuring how you progress on the channel, keep it as it is and enjoy your life too. That's exactly what I want to do, mate, yeah. Stacey saying good news. Al Crowley says, tons of copies of Mortal Realms and Shields, mate. Let me know if you need one. I might well do that, mate, actually. Thank you. Doug, well, thank you very much, buddy. You didn't have to do that. Hugely appreciated, mate, but you didn't have to, but I really honestly do appreciate it. Mark said he wanted to for a while. I do appreciate it, mate. That's entirely up to you, but I do appreciate it, mate. Bloggy's saying we should set up a Blackjack Legacy telethon and make the buffer funds grow faster. Shall I do it like a 24-hour live stream or something like that? It's an awkward thing, and I don't mind talking about it on these live streams because I want you to kind of know. Like I'll always be honest with you. I'll always tell you exactly kind of like the truth and stuff. But it's a fine line between making it sound like begging and just kind of explaining my situation and what I'm trying to achieve and why I'm doing Patreon. Because what I could do is, like a lot of other channels do, I could just say I'm doing paid videos now, so companies will pay me to do videos for them kind of stuff. I could go down that route. I kind of don't want to. I feel like I'll lose some kind of independence and some kind of impartiality if I go down that route. And if that means I can get 100 people to kind of give me $2 each month. That's $400 a month kind of thing. I got nothing to worry about after that. That's kind of covering what I need to cover. So that's kind of what I mean about how I kind of want to try and stay impartial, if you like. Greg saying Marvel has a lot of unique powers, but they're right there on the card. Not complicated to understand. And the rules are free online. You're right, mate. I forgot they are. I should probably check them out. Thank you, mate. Doug saying, it's my pleasure. Can't commit to monthly, but these live streams are the highlight of my week. They're the highlight of my week as well, mate. I love coming to these live chats. It's like hanging out in a pub where we're all we can't see each other, but we're all in the same pub together. Steve says, did my first video for my new venture last week. Now part of the Exploding 8 crew. Nice one, mate. I'll have to check that out. And Mark saying, 24-hour stream with guests. Sounds like a plan. Maybe one day, mate. Maybe one day. Palmsy saying, don't ever feel like it's begging, mate. You provide a great community for a lot of people. It never sits comfortable with me, mate. It always feels a bit weird. I'm starting to kind of come to terms with it a little bit. And I think the thing that I've come to terms with it is because I don't feel like I'm being kind of, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but not like I'm being held hostage. For example, people give me money, therefore you will make this kind of a video. The people that support me are the people that allow me to kind of to do this kind of stuff, to do the stuff I want to do. And that makes it a little bit different, I think. Kelly said, you said you were getting cold. Remember, alcohol kills colds. Looking forward to meeting you in person at Adepticon. I know. Maybe I should have had a beer or whiskey. I've got whiskey behind me there. Actually. No, I'm not going to start now. I need to kind of keep on the lemon sips, I think, and fight it off. But yes, it'd be awesome to catch you at Adepticon. Please do. Anybody is like watching this stream either now or watching it back later on, in which case you'll still be watching it now. If you are going to Adepticon and you want to say hi, please let me know. Obviously, you might know what I look like. I won't know what everybody else looks like. But don't kind of sort of don't sort of feel kind of that you don't want to stop me or don't want to say hi. If you do see me out and about, I'm traveling on my own. I'll be there on my own. Please do just say hi. It'd be awesome to say hello and meet a few people. This might be the only chance I ever get to go to Adepticon. Who knows? So, yeah, please do just stop me and say hello if you see me. Where are we at? Doug saying T-pub. Yeah, I like it, mate. 20 saying agreed. Love my Monday evenings with mates. That's how I feel, mate. That's how I feel. And Alan saying big up the Exploding 8 crew. Nice one. Phil Hall says, do a Live Aid type podcast, hosts moving around the world with different time zones. Do you know that would feel like big enough? I would do that for a charity stream. I would do like a 24-hour charity stream or something like that. sitting painting some stuff and like kind of just chatting to people as they pop in and out. I would do that for charity. I don't think I could do it for myself. I think I'd feel a little bit cheeky doing that. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to Patreon and stuff, please do remember, only pledge what you can afford to. If you only want to do it as a one-off, you can go in, you can be a Patreon for 1 month, and then just cancel it, and you don't have to commit to anything like that. But like that's what's gonna fund me going forward, if you like. So yeah, I do appreciate it. Paul says, "Are you going to stream from Adepticon?" Well, I'm not there on a Monday. I'm going to be flying back into the UK on like Monday lunchtime, so I'll be streaming the night I get back. I might be a little bit tired, but I do intend to stream the night I get back. But I'm considering taking some kit with me to be able to do something while I'm there. I'll definitely take cameras, but I do wonder whether I can maybe I don't know what Wi-Fi and stuff will be like. I might have to do a little bit of them sort of checking that kind of stuff out. If I could live stream from the event, I definitely would if the Wi-Fi is good enough. But if not, I'll certainly try and do some kind of like Facebook lives. Maybe try and stream from my phone into YouTube. Do it that way if the Wi-Fi is good enough. We'll find a way. If people are interested, I'll find a way to do it. Looking, Archie says, would love a video of Adepticon. I'm definitely going to do a bit of a travel vlog, I think. Like I said, this might be the one and only chance I get to ever go there. So I'm going to try and make the most of it and kind of film my journey and kind of almost like a beginner's guide to Adepticon or something like that. Or like a visitor's guide, a first-timer's guide, something like that, eh? Lizzie said it's a bit like televangelism. Yeah, it would be. I'm kind of being here a bit like a preacher going like, God, I'll have a little kind of running talk along the bottom. Please give generously. Please give generously. No, I think I would feel proper weird doing that. Paul said he's seen people stream from there, so Wi-Fi is presumably all right. In that case, mate, no doubt I'll find a way to do it as well. So I'm going to call it there. It's 10:30 now. My throat's starting to give up. I can feel it getting a bit tight now. But thank you, everybody that's been in the chat tonight. It's been awesome. I've really enjoyed it again tonight. Another good chat, another good topic. Thank you very much again, Doug, for the suggestion. If anybody else has any suggestions, what they'd like to talk about, any topic ideas, please do just come back to this video. Drop them into the comments of the video. I'd love to know if you've got any ideas for topics. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, there's a link to it in the bottom of the description of this video. What I do is every Friday I do a Friday question in the Facebook group, and I basically I ask a random question. Everybody gives me their thoughts and stuff and their opinions, and sometimes that will generate so much conversation that it spills over into a topic for the Monday night live stream, and that's exactly what's happened this week. So if you do want to come across to the Facebook group and contribute to that as well, that would be awesome. I'd absolutely love to have you there if you're not already a member. But if you do just have some ideas for topics for the future, drop them in the comments, and I'll certainly give you a reply and stuff, and we can have a little chat about it. So, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to everyone that's also sort of donated and joined members and stuff tonight as well. Hugely appreciated. And I will see you all in my next video. Thank you very much, folks.